job. We fight. We're licensed to kill. I'm sure many people don't understand it, but this is what my job is. And I just enjoy what I do. Whatever happens, happens. As long as my hand's raised, that's what's important. Right?
Here are last year.
Oh yeah, bro, I got a new big hole right there.
In Miami, a fight that many expected to be a spectacle became a stark lesson in consequence. Jake Paul, unbeaten and confident, faced a real heavyweight champion for the first time. Early rounds tested Anthony Joshua's patience, but by the 6th, a single precise right hand changed everything. Now, Paul lies in a hospital bed, recovering from a broken jaw, facing the harsh reality of professional boxing. What does it take to survive when belief meets elite experience?
To Eddie Hearn recently about this matchup with Jake Paul, and he was saying about the Daniel Dubois defeat, and that potentially it was more painful than people may have anticipated or imagined. Is taking a fight with Jake Paul trying to find that fun again and that enjoyment again?
Boxing is not such a fun sport. You can't play boxing. So it's not so fun if I'm honest, but it was just a great opportunity to get back in the ring and get back to big time business.
This is not a victory lap. It is not a gesture meant for headlines. It is a moment that exists because a fight ended the way serious fights often do, decisively and with lasting effects. Jake Paul lies in a hospital bed after the first knockout loss of his boxing career.
I'm just so proud of him. My mom has me.
Your brother fought his ass off, man. I mean, other heavyweights have taken that right hand and only took one.
I'm just so proud of him. That was incredible. In my view, that was a victory on all fronts.
Right.
Like, minus the actual victory, obviously, of course, but bro, like, no one expected him to last 6 rounds with AJ. In my opinion, he won 4 of them.
The jaw injury is significant enough to require observation, rest, and time away from training. The exact timeline is uncertain. Recovery in combat sports rarely follows neat schedules. Joshua does not celebrate here. He observes, he checks, he leaves, and the silence says more than any post-fight statement ever could.
Look, it wasn't the best performance. It wasn't the best. The end goal was to get Jake Paul, pin him down, and hurt him. That has been the request leading up, and that was on my mind. It took a bit longer than expected, but the right hand finally found a destination. Now.
The fight itself had promised spectacle. It delivered something else entirely. From the opening bell, it was clear that this was not a novelty bout disguised as a professional contest. The size difference mattered, the experience gap mattered, and most importantly, the patience mattered.
I've done, like, bro, every fucking day, we would go home and be like, why isn't he fucking finishing these people off? And he's in the fucking 3rd round, KSI's dead and tired, and he's not doing fucking shit.
Because I'll tell you two
and
reasons.
then, but then
Two
he's
reasons.
listening, fucking Shannon in the corner, and he goes, bro, this is your first pro debut.
Joshua entered the ring as a former 2-time world heavyweight champion, a man who has lived under the weight of expectation and consequence for over a decade. Paul entered as a YouTube star turned prizefighter, unbeaten but untested at the highest level, carrying confidence built largely against opponents whose best years were behind them. The early rounds were frustrating for Joshua. Paul moved more than expected. He stayed long. He avoided exchanges. He forced Joshua to reset again and again. For brief moments, the fight felt awkward rather than dominant. The crowd murmured. Analysts shifted in their seats. The narrative threatened to bend. Joshua did not rush. This restraint is often misunderstood. To casual viewers, patience looks like hesitation. To seasoned fighters, it is discipline. Joshua read the timing. He noted the breathing. He measured the distance. He absorbed the annoyance of rounds that did not unfold cleanly. He accepted that dominance sometimes arrives slowly. Paul, for his part, fought with belief. He had trained for real boxing rounds. He had improved defensively. He had learned to survive. Against older, smaller, or limited opponents, that survival had been enough to win. Against a heavyweight champion, survival is not victory. It is merely delay. By the middle rounds, the fight began to settle into a rhythm that favored Joshua. The feints grew sharper. The pressure tightened. Paul's movement became more economical, then more reactive. Each step backward carried slightly more urgency. The right hand came in the 6th round. It was not wild. It was not desperate. It was placed.
Can you just give us an update on
the conversation you had with him perhaps afterwards?
I think he feels disappointed that he lost, but as I said to him, he should be very proud in what he won. And what he won was showing the world that he's a capable boxer who hung in there with a Olympic gold medalist, 2-time world champion, who's actually been recovering and being fresh for over 14 months. People are like, oh, he's rusty, he's been out of the ring. It's actually the opposite.
Joshua stepped into range, closed the distance, and released a straight right that landed cleanly. The impact was immediate. Paul went down, his body reacting before his mind could process what had happened. The referee intervened quickly. Medical staff followed protocol. The arena fell quiet. This is the difference between boxing as performance and boxing as profession. For years, Jake Paul had built a narrative around disruption, around proving people wrong, around suggesting that with enough training, belief, and marketing power, the old hierarchies of combat sports could be overturned. To a point, he was correct. He brought attention. He brought money. He brought new audiences into a sport that often struggles to evolve. He committed to training seriously, and he improved visibly. He did more than most expected. But belief does not replace experience, and athleticism does not replace damage tolerance developed over years of elite competition. Anthony Joshua has been hurt in world title fights. He has been knocked down by champions. He has been counted. He has adjusted and rebuilt. His career has been shaped by loss as much as by victory. Paul's career, until this moment, had been shaped largely by control. This fight removed that control. For the first time, Paul shared the ring with a fighter who did not need to entertain him, protect him, or meet him halfway. Joshua did not need the spectacle. He only needed the opening.
This sport has helped me so much in my life. I think my jaw is broken, by the way, so yeah. Let's go! It's definitely broke. But man, that was good. Nice little ass whooping from one of the best to ever do it. So I love this shit, and I'm gonna come back and get a world championship belt at some point.
The injury to Paul's jaw is not framed here as punishment. It is consequence. Heavyweights carry power that does not negotiate. When clean punches land, outcomes are not optional. Doctors are cautious. Jaw injuries affect eating, speaking, training. Even once healed, confidence takes longer to return. Fighters often say the body recovers faster than the mind. Paul now faces something unfamiliar. Enforced stillness. No training camps. No fight announcements. No social media bravado that can substitute for ring time. Just recovery, reflection, and the awareness that the sport he entered carries costs that cannot be edited away. Joshua's hospital visit reinforces that reality rather than softening it. There is respect in showing up, but there is also finality. The message is unspoken yet unmistakable. This was not personal, it was professional. From Joshua's perspective, the fight served a different purpose. It was not about legacy. It was not about reclaiming belts or silencing critics. It was about reaffirming the line between elite heavyweight boxing and everything else. Joshua struggled early, and that matters. It suggests that even at the highest level, rhythm can be disrupted. It shows that unfamiliar opponents can create problems, even briefly. It also highlights Joshua's ability to remain composed when a fight does not immediately go his way. This composure is what separates champions from contenders. He did not chase a knockout. He did not abandon structure. He trusted that pressure and accuracy would eventually produce an opening. They did.
What's up, sir? What did you think, man?
I thought Joshua did what he had to do. It took him a while to get it, but he had to break him down and chase him down and unleash his powerful shots.
What was it? Was it a little too long to get done, or?
No, listen, when you fight someone like that, who moves around a lot, then you have to try and pick your moments, pick your shots.
Yeah.
From one viewpoint, the fight validates critics who argued that Paul had been protected, that his opposition had been carefully selected, that his undefeated record was more branding than substance. From another viewpoint, it validates Paul's willingness to step into danger. Many fighters with his resources would have continued along safer paths. He chose the hardest possible test, and he paid the price. Both perspectives can exist without contradiction. The bout also forces a broader conversation about crossover boxing itself. When entertainers face professionals, the risk is not just reputational, it is physical. The sport does not scale down cleanly. Weight classes exist for a reason. Experience exists for a reason. Time spent under pressure cannot be simulated fully in training rooms. Joshua's right hand was not just technique, it was thousands of rounds of accumulated understanding. As fight night fades into recovery days, uncertainty becomes the dominant theme. Will Paul return? Will the injury change his appetite for risk? Will he recalibrate his ambitions? Or will this defeat fuel a different kind of determination? There are no guarantees. For Joshua, the future remains complex. Age, wear, and division politics still loom. One clean knockout does not erase previous struggles or secure future titles, but it reinforces that his power remains real and his patience remains intact. The visit to the hospital closes the chapter quietly. No cameras linger, no words are exchanged on record, just two fighters at different points in their journeys, momentarily connected by a single punch and its aftermath.
I wish that I could have knocked him out at the start, but as we saw tonight, Jake has spirit. He has some heart. He tried his best, and I take my hat off to him because, number one, a lot of fighters haven't got in the ring with me, and Jake did. And secondly, even when he got knocked down, he kept on trying to get up.
In the stillness of that room, boxing reveals its true nature. Not spectacle, not hype, but consequence. The camera fades on Joshua leaving the building, the automatic doors sliding shut behind him. Outside, Miami continues as if nothing has happened. Inside, a fighter begins the long process of recovery, carrying with him the undeniable truth that real boxing eventually demands payment, and sometimes it collects in full. Recovery becomes the first opponent Jake Paul has never been able to outmaneuver. There is no sparring partner for stillness, no training montage for waiting. The jaw injury forces restraint, and restraint forces reflection. For a fighter whose rise was built on momentum, interruption is unfamiliar terrain. Medical teams focus on stability, swelling, alignment, risk assessment. Heavyweight punches do not merely disrupt bone, they recalibrate trust in one's own durability. Even after clearance, the memory of impact lingers. Fighters often return technically ready while psychologically cautious. That margin in boxing matters. Around the sport, analysis replaces reaction. Some observers point to the early rounds as evidence that the gap between elite professionals and well-trained outsiders is not always immediately obvious. Paul's movement created problems. His distance management forced Joshua to reset. The frustration was visible if contained. That phase of the fight complicates easy narratives. Others focus on what followed, on how quickly the contest ended once Joshua solved the puzzle, on the idea that patience, not pressure, was the decisive weapon. They argue that the early resistance only delayed the inevitable.
All right, 6th round knockout for Anthony Joshua against Jake Paul. So what do we take away from this fight? It was sloppy from start to finish, but at least Jake Paul can say, I went 6 rounds with the former heavyweight champion. I went further than Francis Ngannou did. This was way worse for Anthony Joshua. He should have walked down Jake Paul from the opening bell. Instead, he gave him way more respect than Paul has earned.
Both readings coexist, and neither diminishes the central fact. When the opening appeared, the fight ended decisively. Joshua's approach reflects years spent under scrutiny. After losses, after criticism, after questions about his temperament and adaptability, he has learned to operate within discomfort. The inability to immediately dominate no longer provokes panic. It provokes calculation. That calculation produced a single, clean right hand. The punch itself is not mythologized within the sport. Heavyweights land power shots regularly. What distinguishes Joshua's is timing. He did not throw it to prove authority. He threw it because the moment presented itself. In that distinction lies professionalism. For Paul, the fight reframes his career arc. Up to this point, his narrative had been upward if controversial. Each bout escalated attention while preserving control. Opponents were recognizable but diminished. Victories reinforced belief. Loss had not yet introduced itself as a teacher. Now it has. The idea that he could destroy anyone was not arrogance unique to him. It is common among fighters who have not yet been stopped. Confidence grows in the absence of contradiction. Boxing eventually provides one. This does not erase Paul's work ethic or dedication. It contextualizes them. Training seriously is necessary. It is not sufficient. Elite boxing is not a collection of skills. It is an ecosystem of experience. Decision-making under fire. Damage absorption, adjustment after being hurt. These qualities are earned through exposure, not intention.
And I take my hat off to him. So America, I think you have someone who could potentially, if he still has the heart for it, come back again, dust the dirt off his shoulder and come again and maybe sell out this center sometime in 2026. Maybe against a Javonte Davis, a Ryan Garcia.
The knockout forces a pause in the crossover boxing conversation as well. Promoters, broadcasters, and audiences must now reassess the cost-benefit equation. Spectacle draws attention, but it also carries responsibility. When the skill gap widens at heavyweight, the consequences escalate rapidly. This fight did not end in chaos, but it brushed close enough to remind everyone of the sport's inherent danger. Joshua's hospital visit underscores that reality rather than softening it. Respect in boxing is often quiet. It does not announce itself. It acknowledges shared risk. From Joshua's standpoint, the bout also tests perception. Some critics argue that struggling early against a less experienced opponent raises questions. Others counter that adaptability, not dominance, defines maturity. Heavyweight boxing rarely offers clean data points. Styles complicate outcomes. Timing shifts narratives. One night rarely answers every question. What it does offer is evidence. Joshua remains dangerous. His power still ends fights. His composure under irritation suggests growth rather than decline. None of this guarantees future titles. It suggests possibility. For Paul, the evidence is harsher but clearer. There is a ceiling imposed not by willpower, but by reality. Whether that ceiling is permanent remains unknown. Fighters evolve. Some losses catalyze reinvention. But reinvention requires humility, patience, and time away from the spotlight. It requires accepting that progress may slow and that setbacks may multiply before improvement resumes. The jaw injury enforces that lesson. Time stretches differently in recovery. Days blur. Training becomes theoretical. Conditioning shifts to maintenance. The body heals while ambition waits. This waiting may prove more challenging than any training camp.
I just outclass this kid, that's all it is. I'm just going to outclass him. I'm a serious fighter. That's just the difference. I'm a serious fighter. You're going to get f***ed up. It is what it is.
Well, let's bring him in. Let's bring him in if we can. Anthony, good luck to you.
Wait, I'm talking as well.
Okay. We could do it. We could do another face-up.
Yeah, we could do another face-up, but I just believe I'm going to smash him. I'm going to smoke.
As hours pass, speculation fills the void. Potential rematches are discussed and dismissed. Alternative opponents are floated. Career pivots are imagined. None of it matters until healing completes. Joshua, meanwhile, returns to his routine. Gyms are familiar spaces. Training resumes with an understanding that the heavyweight division remains unforgiving. Youth presses forward. Contenders wait. Politics complicate opportunity. One knockout does not simplify the landscape. It sharpens it. The Miami fight will be remembered not for its buildup, but for its outcome. Not for spectacle, but for consequence. It stands as a data point in a sport often clouded by promotion. In the quiet aftermath, boxing reasserts its rules. Experience matters, power matters, and belief, when untested, eventually meets resistance. The hospital room empties, the lights dim. Outside, narratives continue to evolve. Inside the sport, the lesson settles slowly but firmly. When preparation meets reality, only one of them decides the result. And reality, as always in boxing, hits hardest when patience gives way to precision.